It's time to talk about Santa and geopolitical relations. So, I took an edible about 2 hours ago, and it got me thinking, if Santa was real, right? If Santa was among us, how would that actually affect the global conflicts and interests of the world? Now, you see, I've been thinking about this for not very long, so there's gonna be some holes in what I'm saying, but I think it's a fun little what if scenario. So, first of all, if Santa was real, Santa would have a sovereign state up in the North Pole area, which is an interesting area to have a neutral territory because that's in between the West and Russia. So I think Santa would have been a really interesting figure in the Cold War. I think a lot of espionage would be used in the North Pole. Like, I think the CIA and whatnot would go and recruit people who looked like elves and then send them to infiltrate the North Pole, and then kind of use the North Pole as a secret base of operations where they can then get access to Russia easier. And, you know, I think one of the other things about Santa existing during the Cold War and having a sovereign state right there is that, first of all, so he's neutral. Second, he's omniscient. You know, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Santa knows everything, right? I mean, Santa's basically God. There's a lot of parallels there. So, you know, if Santa knows everything, then that means Santa is the most valuable person alive, right? Which means Santa would be a target, like the top priority target to get intel from. I don't think foreign governments would respect his autonomy. AKA, I do think Santa would be tortured or waterboarded for information. Santa would be tortured. Or, conversely, maybe Santa wouldn't be tortured and the ultimate goal would be bribery. But how could you possibly bribe him? You can't bribe Santa. So, because Santa is neutral and you probably can't bribe him to favor your country or just hand information over, you'd probably have to attack the chain of command and bribe his elves. See, there's no way in hell the elves are getting fair pay. I mean, maybe they live for servitude, but this isn't a J.K. Rowling book, so I doubt. I think there'd be some elves who would definitely give some intel if you could provide them with a life of greater opportunity. Another situation that could arise from this is countries outright banning Santa because he is propaganda for the opposition. For example, you know, communism was called the Red Scare, and Santa was commonly seen in a red suit. Now, in this universe, we are assuming Santa's red suit is not because of Coca-Cola marketing, but is because he's just a real person who likes red. Would Santa change the color to remain neutral? He might. I could see in this universe, Santa actually has a green suit instead. I think we should also talk about how heavily militarized his North Pole would be, right? So you have to keep Santa protected. You have to keep everybody who lives there protected. And also the reindeer. Because, I mean, listen, if you're a corporation or if you're the government, you're gonna want to harvest the essence that makes reindeer fly, because that could probably lead to a bunch of other technological advancements. I mean, it's magic dust that lets these things defy physics. So if you could put that on a missile, if you could put that on a spacecraft, an aircraft, you would definitely have the edge. Especially when you do the math on Santa visiting every house in a night, he actually goes many times the speed of sound. It would be very useful to have the speed of his reindeer. In fact, I heard somewhere that when his reindeer land in the ground, because of the speed they've been traveling, they basically leave a meteor crater wherever they land. You know, I could even see it as strategic for a military to use the reindeer as the missile. All I'm saying is there's very effective technology up there. So yeah, the North Pole would definitely be a heavily militarized region. I also think that, you know, if Santa was real, the entire Hollywood industry around him and the radio would change as well. You know, there would be no Santa Baby or any songs that have explicit or intimate lyrics about Santa Claus, because that is now a real person, and it'd be really weird to objectify an old-ass man in your music. And instead of movies focusing on the question of, is Santa real? I really do think you'd see more Rise of the Guardians type shit, where Santa is just like, an established real figure, but he's exercising his power and being a badass. I think they would turn Santa into an Avenger. There would be the Santa cinematic universe. But yeah, bye.